The stars screamed before they tore apart. In the endless void between worlds, a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever known ripped the boundaries of creation itself. Two devils collided, one forged from humanity's fear of extinction, the other from its craving for annihilation. Their clash ripped open the seams between realities, and through that wound in existence, something fell. It fell, screaming, burning, a man, a devil, a hybrid of flesh and metal shrieking with the sound of spinning blades. Chainsaws roared through the void as Denji, Chainsaw Man, was torn from his world and hurled into another. The moment he crossed the threshold, every force sensitive across the galaxy felt it, a shudder in the current, a vibration that no Jedi or Sith could name. The tears sealed behind him, leaving silence. He crashed into the world of Mustafar, a planet of fire and fury. Rivers of lava stretched across the horizon like veins of molten blood, and the air trembled with the echo of rage. Denji's body hit the obsidian ground, carving a trail through molten rock until he came to rest beside a river of flame. Smoke and steam hissed as his metal skin sizzled. He groaned, half laughing, half coughing. "Man, what the hell was that?" he muttered, his voice distorted by the chainsaw protruding from his skull. He reached for Pachita's cord on his chest, pulling it slightly, vroom, and the familiar growl of the chainsaw echoed, bringing comfort amid alien chaos. "Guess we're not in Tokyo anymore." Above the planet, Imperial satellites detected an anomaly, an object from hyperspace that hadn't come through hyperspace. The readings made no sense. Its energy signature bent sensors into static. Moments later, the alert reached Darth Vader aboard his Star Destroyer Executor. "Report," Vader's mechanical voice commanded. "Unidentified life form detected on Mustafar, my lord," said the technician. "The energy reading, it's interfering with the scanners. It feels like the dark side itself," Vader finished. The lava planet was his sanctuary, his wound in the Force. But now, something alien had dared to touch it. His breathing deepened. "Prepare a shuttle. I will investigate personally." Down below, Denji stumbled to his feet, dazed but alive. His body healed quickly, the blood and heat of the planet fed him somehow. Lava hissed as it touched his skin, but instead of burning, it seemed to whisper. The air was thick, charged with invisible pressure, alive. He could feel it, though he couldn't name it, the Force. But to Denji, it wasn't mystical or divine, it was just another flavor of energy, like a scent of blood or fear. And it made him hungry. He wandered the molten plains, searching for water, food, anything. Instead, he found silence, until the hum of engines echoed from above. 3 black transports descended through the smoke, each bearing the red insignia of the Galactic Empire. From them emerged the Inquisitors, Sith-trained hunters who track surviving Jedi. Their eyes burned with suspicion and hate. "What the hell are you supposed to be?" Denji asked, tilting his head as he watched them draw their spinning double-bladed lightsabers. The sound of those blades, their whining hum, made him grin. "Heh, chainsaws are louder." The Grand Inquisitor sneered. "You will kneel before the Empire or die, creature." Denji blinked. "Empire? Is that like a devil hunting agency or something?" Then, as they ignited their blades and lunged, his grin widened. "Guess not." He pulled Pachita's cord. The roar shattered the air. Chains burst from his arms, his head erupted with whirling steel, and the sound was monstrous. The Inquisitors struck first, but their blades met teeth. Sparks flew. The smell of molten metal filled the air as Denji's chainsaws tore through crimson plasma and flesh alike. They screamed, but their screams were brief. Within moments, the lava field was painted in ash and blood, and Denji stood among the remains, panting, covered in the energy of creatures that weren't human, but tasted alive. And then something terrifying happened. The Force moved around him. It bled. Every Force sensitive on Mustafar, and beyond, felt the disturbance. Far away, Vader stood on the shuttle platform as the Force trembled. He felt pain, death, and consumption. It wasn't the dark side feeding. It was something eating the Force itself. He turned toward the planet below. The hunger grows stronger, he whispered. This is no Jedi. Denji dropped to his knees, exhausted but satisfied. Weird guys, he muttered, licking blood from his arm. But, man, I feel great. He didn't understand that what he had eaten wasn't blood or flesh, but Force energy, absorbed through his victim's connection to the dark side. And with every drop, his link to Pachita's infernal dimension strengthened. The first sparks of catastrophe had been lit. Above, the executor cut across Mustafar's atmosphere. Imperial officers felt unease in their bones. One asked, "My lord, do you wish to engage with orbital bombardment?" Vader's respirator hissed. "No. I will face it myself." The shuttle descended through smoke and flame, toward the creature that made the Force tremble. Down below, Denji wiped sweat and soot from his face, sensing the shuttle's shadow above him. His grin returned. Round 2, huh? He revved his chainsaw. Let's see what this new world's got. The wind over Mustafar didn't carry whispers, only the hiss of steam and the rumble of fire. Across the blackened plains, the world bled its molten heart into rivers of flame that glowed beneath the crusted surface like veins under skin. In that storm of heat, something moved. A figure stumbled out of a fissure, half human, half nightmare. His body was torn, bleeding, but his blood didn't look like blood, it sizzled, thick and dark, burning as it touched the ground. His chest rose and fell with violent rhythm. Every breath was agony and rebirth. Then came the sound, R-R-R-R-A-G-H, like metal teeth grinding through the bones of creation. From his arms and skull, chainsaws burst forth in violent bloom, showering sparks and smoke. The molten winds howled against his frame. His head tilted, eyes glowing faintly behind a mask of steel and madness. Denji was awake. But this was not Earth. This was not his world. He looked up at the dark sky filled with volcanic ash and cracked lightning. In the distance, something massive moved, Imperial star destroyers cutting across the clouds like silent gods. "What the hell kind of devil is this place?" he muttered, his voice dry, his chainsaws still idling in the air. A trembling officer knelt before a crimson hologram. "My lord, the readings are off the charts. The energy spike, it isn't Force-based. It's something else entirely." The hologram's eyes narrowed. "Send in the Inquisitors," came the command. It was the voice of Darth Vader. He turned from the projection, cape shifting like liquid shadow. The Force hummed uneasily around him, vibrating with warning. Even the dark side recoiled. He could feel the anomaly on the surface, a storm of rage and hunger wrapped in flesh. Something ancient, and wrong. 3 Inquisitors descended with a detachment of troopers. The moment they landed, their armor steamed from the heat. The lead Inquisitor, 5th brother, scanned the scorched horizon through his visor. "We'll locate and contain it. Lord Vader wants it alive." They moved cautiously. The sound reached them first, chains rattling against stone. Then the stench of scorched metal and blood. Denji stood at the edge of a lava pool, watching his reflection shimmer in the molten light. He looked confused, lost, but when the Inquisitors raised their blades, his head twitched. "Oi," he grumbled. "You people look like weird cosplayers. Identify yourself," the 5th brother barked. "You are trespassing on Imperial." Chainsaw Man's head tilted. Then, suddenly, "Rag!" The sound of the chainsaws drowned everything. Denji lunged forward with inhuman speed, his arms a blur of teeth and flame. The first Inquisitor didn't even scream, just split apart, his armor melting in the spray of lava. The others tried to block, but his saws cut through their spinning blades, tearing through their midsections like they were paper. The troopers fired, bolts of red light filling the air, but Denji didn't dodge. He laughed. Each hit only made his body twitch harder, feeding the chaos. He slammed into the ground, dragging a chainsaw across it, sending a wave of molten rock spraying in all directions. When it cleared, the Imperial squad was gone. Only Denji remained, steam hissing from his body, his chest heaving. He fell to his knees, panting, licking some of the blood from his hand. The taste made him freeze. It wasn't human. It was something else. Something powerful. Something that tasted like darkness itself. And it called to him. Vader stood aboard his shuttle, watching through a crimson viewport. The sensors screamed warnings, biological energy levels climbing beyond measurable limits. He felt it through the Force, a beast that should not exist. The dark side whispered. It feeds on us. The idea was absurd. Nothing could consume the Force. Nothing except. Vader clenched his fist. Prepare the Devastator. I will go myself. The officers hesitated, sensing the unease even in his tone. This creature, Vader said, his voice low, is not a mere monster. It is a wound in reality. Denji looked around at the destruction, panting heavily. His chainsaws retracted, leaving only scorched marks across his arms. He stared at the red horizon. His brain barely processed the chaos, only fragments of memory flickering through his head. Pachita's voice echoed faintly within him. Denji, don't eat too much. You'll lose yourself. But the voice faded into the crackle of fire. He didn't even notice the burning insignia of the Empire beneath his feet, or the thousands of eyes watching from orbit. Somewhere above, a shadow fell across the molten plains. A shuttle descended. And from it stepped Darth Vader. The Imperial shuttle descended through the crimson haze, its wings folding inward like a dark angel's descent. The ground trembled as it landed, crushing charred stone beneath its weight. Steam hissed up through the cracks, curling around the armored boots of Darth Vader as he stepped out. Silence ruled for a moment. Even Mustafar's fiery rivers seemed to hold their breath. All around the landing site lay the remains of his soldiers, armor melted, bones turned to black dust, weapons fused into slag. The Force whispered with echoes of pain, confusion, and something else, something eaten. Vader stood motionless. He extended his gloved hand, the Force flowing through him like dark lightning. But what he felt was not the echo of the dead, it was absence. No souls. No afterglow. No trace in the Force. Impossible, he muttered beneath his breath. Something had devoured their essence completely. Reak. The scream of chainsaws cut through the sulfuric air. From behind a wall of molten stone, Denji stepped out. His head tilted, eyes glowing orange in the shadow of his cracked mask. His entire body was streaked with blackened ash and blood, some of it still sizzling. When Vader saw him, the Force shrieked a warning. This was no mere beast. Denji stared at him with a tilt of curiosity. You another one of those lightsaber weirdos? Vader didn't answer. He ignited his crimson blade with a snap hiss that turned the air molten. The lava around them hissed louder, reacting to the surge of dark side energy. The others were weak, Vader said. You are different. You will tell me what you are. Denji blinked. What I am? Dude, I don't even know where I am. He scratched his head with his chainsaw arm, sparks flying. 1 minute I'm fighting some crazy devil, next thing I'm in this hot mess of a planet. You got food? That human simplicity, that ridiculous, almost innocent tone, it unsettled Vader more than arrogance ever could. You killed Imperial officers, Vader said coldly. For that, you will suffer. Denji sighed, letting his shoulders drop. I just wanted a nap. And then he charged. The ground exploded. Denji leapt forward with speed unnatural for flesh, his chainsaws howling through the air. Vader met him mid-strike, his lightsaber cutting upward, sparks and energy clashing in a burst of molten light. The first blow nearly shattered the ground. Lava sprayed upward like rain. Denji swung again, but the red blade parried effortlessly. Vader's movements were precise, mechanical, every strike backed by the full weight of the Force. Yet something strange happened. Each time his lightsaber connected with Denji's chainsaws, the energy field flickered. The plasma blade wavered, not broken, but disturbed, as though reality itself was being chewed at the edges. "What are you?" Vader demanded, his voice echoing like thunder. Denji laughed. "Hungry." He lunged again, his chainsaws screaming louder, hungrier, as they scraped against the air itself. Vader extended a hand, sending a blast of the Force that could crush a tank. Denji hit a wall of invisible power, bones cracking, but instead of dying, he bit into the air, his teeth grinding against the unseen barrier. The Force screamed. Vader felt something pulling back. Something was eating the energy he projected. Denji's saws dug into the ground. He inhaled deeply, the scent of charred death filling his lungs. The more he breathed, the more his eyes burned with red light. He felt it, the dark side, whispering, thick in the air like smoke. He didn't know what it was, but it tasted like power. "Delicious," he whispered. Chainsaws roared again. He dashed forward, slicing through the air. Vader raised his hand to force choke him, but the moment his telekinetic grip touched Denji's throat, the connection snapped. Pain shot through Vader's mind, something was chewing on his connection to the Force. The Sith Lord staggered a step back. "Impossible," he hissed. Denji didn't stop. His saws slammed against Vader's chest plate, sparks exploding in all directions. The Dark Lord blocked with his blade just in time, but the sheer force sent him skidding backward through the dust. Vader recovered quickly, but Denji was already standing over a fallen Inquisitor's corpse nearby. He looked down, eyes narrowing. A strange energy pulsed from the dead body, something invisible yet intoxicating. He crouched, pressed a hand to the Inquisitor's chest, and drank. In an instant, a wave of shadow poured into him. The Force around the planet shuddered. Yoda, light years away, jolted awake from meditation. His eyes widened. Darkness is being eaten. On Mustafar, Denji stood taller. His wounds sealed. His chainsaws burned hotter. Vader watched in horror as the creature fed on death itself. He charged again, summoning every ounce of the dark side in his body. The lava erupted upward as he slammed into Denji with the full power of hatred. "You will obey me." Denji met his rage with laughter. "I don't do rules, metal man." The two collided once more, red plasma versus screaming steel, the shockwave ripping across the lava fields, sending molten waves crashing against ancient Sith ruins. From orbit, sensors detected an energy spike equivalent to a planetary bombardment. When the smoke cleared, both figures were still standing. Vader's armor was scorched, his cape torn. Denji's mask cracked down the middle, revealing a sliver of human grin beneath. Vader breathed heavily, his voice distorted. "You are no mere creature." Denji tilted his head. "You talk too much." He swung again, and the sound of his chainsaws echoed like a scream across the galaxy. The world of Mustafar groaned like a dying god. Lava fountains erupted where their duel had scarred the crust, and the very air shimmered with distorted light. The Force itself seemed ill, like something inside it was bleeding. Darth Vader stood in the heart of that storm, his armor cracked, his breathing ragged. His crimson blade still hummed, but it no longer sounded proud, it sounded afraid. Across from him, Denji, Chainsaw Man, knelt for a moment. His breathing was erratic, his body trembling between human and something far worse. Then, as if the air itself fed him, he rose again. Steam hissed off his skin. The cracks in his mask glowed like molten eyes. "Man," he muttered with a grin, "you're strong. I like that." He stepped forward, boots sinking into scorched ash. "But your energy, it's weird." Feels like it's trying to talk to me. Vader said nothing. His mind was racing, an analytical monster beneath the rage. The creature's presence wasn't just powerful. It was wrong. Every strike, every scream of its chainsaws, tore at the unseen threads that bound the galaxy together. The dark side wasn't resisting it. It was being eaten. Far away, across millions of light years, something stirred in the Force. On Dagobah, Yoda sat in meditation. The swamp buzzed quietly until it didn't. He gasped, clutching his chest as the Force trembled around him like a dying flame. Consumed, devoured, it is, he whispered, eyes wide. By what, monster? On Coruscant, Emperor Palpatine sat in his throne, his yellow eyes narrowing. Around him, the Sith holocrons that lined his chamber flickered and dimmed. The whispering voices of ancient Sith lords stopped. For the first time in decades, there was silence. Palpatine rose slowly, his fingers curling. The dark side, fading. He reached out through the Force, and recoiled instantly. Something on Mustafar was drinking from the well of the dark side itself. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Fascinating. On Mustafar, Vader charged again. His fury ignited the air, his strikes burned through stone. But Denji didn't back away. He absorbed the hits like they were feeding him. Each blow that connected sent waves of Force energy into his body, and every wave made his chainsaws scream louder. His wounds healed faster than Vader could create them. You, Vader growled, locking blades with Denji's saw. You consume the Force. Denji just laughed, a wild, manic sound echoing through the magma-lit canyon. I dunno what that is, but it's tasty. He grabbed Vader by the chest plate, pulling him close, the heat from his engines melting metal. And you've got a lot of it. Then he headbutted the Dark Lord so hard it cracked his helmet. The Force howled. Vader staggered back, clutching his mask. Denji's hands were steaming, he was burning from his own power, but he didn't care. He was high on the energy, overwhelmed by its flavor. He didn't realize that every drop he absorbed weakened the galaxy itself. On Lothal, a Jedi Padawan practicing meditation suddenly screamed. Her lightsaber flickered, dimmed, then went dark. In deep space, aboard an Imperial fleet, a Sith Inquisitor gasped as his connection to the dark side vanished. My power, what's happening to my power? Across the stars, Force sensitives everywhere felt their minds go silent. The Force wasn't gone, but its voice was shrinking, fading, being drowned out by the mechanical roar of Denji's chainsaws. He wasn't just fighting. He was consuming concepts. Vader's sensors screamed warnings. His armor integrity was collapsing, his power failing. He reached out to his master through the Force. My master, the creature cannot be defeated by strength. It feeds on our power. Palpatine's voice slithered back like cold oil. Then feed it, my apprentice. Feed it until it bursts. Vader hesitated. If it consumes me, then you will have given yourself for the greater darkness. The galaxy will remember your sacrifice, and I will control what remains. Vader deactivated his lightsaber and extended both hands. The Force poured from him in a torrent, black and red lightning coiling like serpents. The air split open with the power of his hatred, his pain, his loss, his wrath. Come then, monster, he said, voice thunderous. Feast on my hate. Denji tilted his head. Don't mind if I do. He plunged forward, arms wide, letting the wave of energy slam into him. The moment it touched his skin, he absorbed it. The explosion lit the entire sky in crimson light. The shockwave hit the atmosphere. Imperial ships in orbit rocked. Entire volcanoes erupted at once. When the fire cleared, Vader was gone. Denji stood in the center of a crater that spanned miles. His skin glowed faintly red, his eyes bright with unnatural fire. His breathing slowed. He looked down at his hands. The chainsaws hummed quietly, almost satisfied. "Guess. I win," he muttered. He didn't notice the ground beneath him melting. Not from lava. From something deeper. The Force was collapsing into him. On Coruscant, Palpatine's laughter echoed through the throne room. He raised a hand, feeling the echo of the explosion. "The creature has eaten the apprentice," he hissed with delight. "Good. Let it gorge itself. For when it is full, I will make it kneel." He turned to the shadows, summoning his guards. "Prepare the Sith ritual chamber. The Emperor shall bind a god." But even he could feel it, the edges of the Force fading, trembling like candlelight in a storm. In the ruins of Mustafar's citadel, Denji looked around. The air felt quiet. Empty. He could no longer hear the strange whispers that had surrounded him since arrival. The world felt hollow. He pressed his hand to his chest, feeling a pulse that wasn't his. Inside him, something vast and ancient screamed. The Force was inside him now, fighting to escape. He stumbled backward, gripping his head, his voice breaking into laughter and panic. "What the hell's happening to me?" The fires of Mustafar burned again. Not from magma alone, but from Denji's chainsaws, shrieking as they tore through the volcanic air. Lava splashed as droid battalions turned to molten scrap, and in the distance, Darth Vader's fortress stood like a black monolith awaiting judgment. The Emperor had sent his enforcer to contain the demon. Vader thought he'd faced monsters before, Sith lords, rebels, and traitors. But when he saw the man with a chainsaw ripping through platoons of stormtroopers like paper, even his mechanical lungs drew a slower breath. Denji, or whatever the Star Wars galaxy now called him, stood atop a smoldering AT-ST, visor dripping with lava and blood. "Nice toy soldiers," he sneered. "You gonna send me someone fun now?" Vader ignited his lightsaber. Red light bathed the battlefield, the hum resonating with the deeper growl of Denji's engines. The Force met raw chaos, precision versus instinct. Vader's strikes were controlled, elegant. Denji's were wild, unpredictable, animalistic. But neither could land the killing blow. When Vader tried to crush him with the Force, Denji laughed, because the same invisible power only fueled his frenzy. His chainsaws spun faster, tearing through the stone beneath their feet as though the planet itself were screaming. Then, the Dark Lord spoke through the clash. "You are chaos given form. Serve me, and you can destroy worlds at my command." Denji tilted his head, grin flashing through his helmet. "I don't take commands. I give them." He swung, not at Vader, but at the volcano. The ground split. Lava roared upward. Vader raised his hand to contain it with the Force, but Denji used the distraction to close in, sawing through his own arm just to escape a Force choke, letting blood ignite in molten flame. His madness was freedom, his pain, weaponized. The clash ended in a draw. Vader retreated, ordered to regroup. But for the first time in decades, fear seeped into his mechanical heart. Denji dropped to one knee, exhausted, breathing through the static of his suit. His heart, the demonic engine within him, pulsed irregularly. Something in this galaxy was feeding it. He looked toward the twin suns and whispered, "Guess I'm just getting started." Above Mustafar, an Imperial probe transmitted the footage to the Emperor. Palpatine watched in silence, eyes gleaming like dying stars. "This creature could destroy everything," he hissed. "Send word to Exegol. We may have found a weapon beyond the dark side itself." And in the shadows of Coruscant, a hooded figure watched the same broadcast, a Mandalorian sigil etched into their armor. "Time to hunt a god," they murmured. The hunt for Chainsaw Man had begun, and the galaxy trembled. The galaxy had a new name whispered in fear, the Chainsaw Devil. Across star systems, holos of Denji's rampage circulated in secret feeds. Soldiers who saw him lived haunted, muttering of a screaming engine that could devour the Force itself. The Emperor wanted him captured. The Jedi remnants wanted him destroyed. The bounty hunters. They wanted the reward, 50 million credits. Dead or alive. Among them was a Mandalorian named Vexa Rin, once loyal to the Creed, now rogue. Her Beskar gleamed black as void stone, and her ship, the Obsidian Wolf, tracked Denji's trail through hyperspace scars left by his chaotic energy. But Denji wasn't hiding. He was hungry. Each kill made his heart beat faster. Each battle made him stronger. He fed on fear, on violence, on the psychic residue of death that lingered across war-torn worlds. The Force, normally serene and balanced, shivered around him, unable to categorize what he was. Not light. Not dark. Just, wrong. On Nar Shaddaa, the city of criminals, Denji walked through the neon-lit underworld like a living storm. Hut guards raised blasters. Denji didn't slow down. One word, one pull of his ripcord, and chaos erupted. Bodies hit walls. Steel split apart. In minutes, an entire syndicate was gone. He sat among the wreckage, blood dripping off his blades, laughing quietly. Man, this galaxy's soft. That's when the air behind him rippled. A flash bomb went off. Beskar-clad boots hit the floor. Vexa Rin fired a pulse dart that froze midair, stopped by Denji's spinning chainsaw mid-swing. She spoke through her modulated helmet. 50 million credits says you come with me quietly. Denji grinned beneath his mask. 50 million. Lady, I'd pay twice that just to fight you. Their duel was brutal. Blaster bolts ricocheted off walls. Chainsaws clashed against Beskar. Sparks flew, lighting the alley like a thunderstorm. Vexa moved like liquid, grappling hook, flame thrower, vibroblade, relentless. But Denji was faster. His madness made him unpredictable, he fought like an animal that enjoyed being hurt. Vexa managed to trap him in an energy net. Denji smiled. You really shouldn't have done that. He revved. His chainsaws screamed, cutting through the net, through the walls, through everything. When the smoke cleared, she was on one knee, armor cracked, pulse pounding, and Denji stood above her, blood slicked and grinning. But instead of killing her, he paused. Because for the first time since he arrived, someone had almost beaten him. Not bad, he said, offering a hand. You're not like the rest. Vexa stared, torn between duty and instinct. What are you? He looked around at the bodies, at the smoking ruins of Nar Shaddaa, and shrugged. Hungry. She lowered her blaster. And in that moment, an unlikely alliance formed, the devil and the hunter. Not out of trust, but survival. Vexa knew the Empire was mobilizing a weapon, something ancient from Exegol, rumored to consume Force anomalies. Denji just wanted a challenge. So when she said, I know where they're keeping it. He smirked and replied. Lead the way. Above them, a fleet of star destroyers repositioned, tracking the chaotic signal that radiated from the planet like a beating heart. And in his throne room, the Emperor smiled darkly. The galaxy trembles before my new creation. Let him come. Lightning flashed across the stars, and the endgame began. Hyperspace twisted, then shattered into stillness. The Obsidian Wolf dropped out of lightspeed above a crimson storm, the cursed world of Exegol. No coordinates existed for it in public records. No star maps marked its orbit. Only whispers remained, tales of Sith cults, machines that drank from the Force, and experiments too blasphemous for even the Empire to claim. Inside the cockpit, Vexa Rin's armor reflected the lightning-streaked clouds. That's where the Empire's keeping it, she said, voice hard. Denji leaned forward, engines purring in his chest. And that's what I get to break, right? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Below, vast constructs churned like mechanical beasts, colossal rings of black steel powered by dark energy. And in the center, floating like a temple of sin, was Project Thanatos, Palpatine's newest weapon, forged to do one thing, consume anomalies beyond the Force. Looks like they built a bug zapper just for me, Denji muttered. Vexa armed the ship's cannons. It's worse. That thing feeds on energy. Force, plasma, life force, it devours anything that moves. He smiled wider. Guess we'll see if it likes the taste of pain. The Imperial fleet was already waiting. TIE squadrons screamed across the dark. Star destroyers loomed like obsidian mountains, blocking out what little light there was. And standing atop the command bridge of the lead vessel, robed in black and crimson, was Darth Vader himself. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The Force had already told him, something unholy approaches. As Denji's ship broke through the atmosphere, Vader turned toward the stars. Fire. The sky erupted. Dozens of turbolaser blasts tore through the void, turning the heavens into molten rivers of green light. Vexa's ship danced between them, her controls trembling, alarms shrieking. Can't take much more of this. Denji cracked his neck, grinning like a man who'd waited his whole life for this kind of insanity. Then let me out. Before she could stop him, he pulled the emergency hatch, and jumped. The sound of his chainsaws igniting drowned out the storm. He fell like a meteor, ripping through the air, the flames around him screaming his arrival. When he hit the surface, the entire plateau shattered. Denji tore into legions of stormtroopers like a man possessed. White armor split. Metal screamed. The ground became a painting of chaos and sparks. Every time he cut one down, his energy grew, his aura burning brighter, hungrier, until even the darkness recoiled from him. In orbit, Vader felt it, that wild pulse in the Force, chaotic and wrong. This creature, he muttered, voice mechanical and cold. It does not belong. He leapt from his destroyer, cape snapping like wings of night, and descended through the storm to meet the intruder himself. Vexa landed moments later, her ship burning from stray hits. She sprinted across the ruined plains toward the main structure, cutting down Sith guards. But when she reached the central spire, she froze. There it was. The heart of Project Thanatos. A massive orb suspended in black energy, pulsing like a second sun. Around it, Force lightning twisted in endless arcs, and within it, she saw faces. Jedi. Sith. Slaves. All consumed. Her scanner beeped frantically. Denji, it's alive. But he wasn't listening. He was busy. Vader landed before him with a thunderclap. The ground cracked, dust spiraling around two beings who should not exist in the same universe. One, a machine of hate and destiny. The other, a devil of chains and madness. Vader ignited his crimson blade. Denji revved his chainsaws. The galaxy held its breath. Their clash shook the planet. Sparks collided with lightning. Every swing carved through reality itself. Vader's control was absolute, his movements precise, but Denji was chaos incarnate, unpredictable, impossible to read. Each strike pushed the Dark Lord back farther. You feel that? Denji shouted, laughter echoing through the storm. That's fun. Vader didn't answer. He unleashed a force wave that sent Denji flying into a pillar of stone. Denji stood, cracking his jaw, blood dripping. You're strong, Buckethead. But not fun enough. He lunged again. This time, Vader met him midair, lightsaber slicing through metal, but the chainsaws didn't stop. They screamed, grinding against the Force itself. Above them, Project Thanatos reached critical energy. Vexa shouted through the calm, Denji. It's pulling power from your fight. It's feeding off you both. He looked up at the storming orb, and smiled. Perfect. He turned his saws toward the sky, revved them to a frequency that made the clouds split, and leapt. Straight into the heart of Thanatos. The orb shrieked. Lightning exploded outward, engulfing everything. For one impossible instant, the entire galaxy felt it, every Jedi, every Sith, as if something unnatural had bitten into the Force itself. Then silence. The fleet vanished. The storm died. Exegol cracked. When the dust cleared, there was no Denji. No Vader. Only a hole where reality had once been, still humming, still bleeding, like a wound the universe couldn't close. Darkness had a sound. It wasn't silence, it was breathing. The kind that came from deep inside the fabric of the universe, where space itself exhaled in pain. That's what Exegol became. A black sphere hung where the planet used to be, pulsing like a dying star. The Empire's fleet was gone. The Sith citadels, erased. What remained was something beyond both life and death, a hollow world of fractured reality, dripping with the residue of power too immense to define. And inside that wound in space, Denji woke up. He gasped, steam pouring off his body. His chainsaw sputtered to life with weak, glitching growls. The world around him was wrong, fragments of stone floated weightlessly, lightning crawled sideways across the air, and echoes of Jedi screams whispered like ghosts in a tunnel. He stood up, dizzy, looking around. Still not dead. Damn, I'm hard to kill. Then he heard it. A voice, layered, infinite, both male and female, spoke from the dark. You devoured the gate between worlds, and yet, you still hunger. Denji squinted. Who the hell said that? Show yourself. The void shifted, forming an enormous humanoid shape, its outline built from flickering starlight. Two glowing eyes, neither kind nor cruel, peered down on him. We are the Force. Denji frowned. Force, huh? You sound like every god who ever tried to make me behave. You are not supposed to exist, it said, voice trembling like 1,000 voices in one. You are chaos born of flesh and steel. You consume balance itself. Denji scratched his head. Yeah, that sounds about right. If you keep feeding, everything will end. He tilted his head. And if I don't? You fade. Forgotten. Like a bad dream. Denji smirked. Guess I'll take ending everything. Sounds more fun. Meanwhile, far away, in a distant sector of the galaxy, the survivors of the Exegol event gathered aboard a rebel cruiser. Vexa Rin stood before a holomap, her armor cracked and scorched, her voice low. He's not dead, she said. I saw it, the energy signature. It's changing. Like he's digesting something. Mon Mothma turned pale. You're saying he consumed the Force anomaly? Vexa looked at the swirling data feed, static filling half the screen. No. I think he became it. Back inside the void, Denji's eyes glowed red as his chainsaws blazed brighter than ever. Energy bled from him in streaks of silver and black. Every breath he took pulled in more of the Force, more of that invisible current that bound life to reality. He was drinking it. The Force tried to resist, shaping storms, illusions, entire galaxies of memory to confuse him. Denji fought through them all. He tore through Jedi phantoms, ripped Sith apparitions apart, and laughed as their teachings turned to dust. You think I care about your balance? I just want to fight something that can fight back. Each kill, if it could be called that, made him evolve. His skin began to ripple with metallic veins. His aura pulsed like twin suns colliding. He was no longer Denji the Devil Hunter. He was the Chainsaw Force, an anomaly that ate meaning itself. But far above the void, someone else stirred. Vader's broken armor floated through the remains of Exegol. A faint pulse echoed from within the shattered mask, the faint, gasping breath of a man who refused to die. He drifted through the debris, pulled by something unseen. When his body hit the black sphere, the Force reacted. It remembered him, and for the first time since its creation, it hesitated. He was balanced through pain, the Force whispered. He can stop him. The fragments of Vader's armor reformed, metal ceiling, lights flickering. And when his respirator roared to life again, the void trembled. He was no longer Darth Vader. He was something else, a revenant of the Force, half man, half energy, forged for one final confrontation. On the other side, Denji grinned. He felt the disturbance, the surge of strength returning through the nothingness. His eyes widened, chainsaws flaring. "Oh yeah," he muttered. "That's what I'm talking about." Lightning tore across the darkness. The two beings, the Eater of the Force and the Ghost of the Force, faced each other. Their power made galaxies flicker. Entire timelines warped as both realities bent inward toward them. Vader ignited a new blade, white as starlight, burning with pure essence. Denji revved his chainsaws, his teeth bared in a devilish grin. The Force itself watched. When they collided, existence screamed. Planets across the galaxy trembled. The Jedi on Ossus fell to their knees. The Sith cults on Mustafar saw their shrines crack. Even Palpatine's clones on BYSS shuddered as the universe glitched. This was no longer just a battle, it was the rewriting of reality. Denji's saws tore through dimensions. Vader's blade cut through possibility itself. Each strike collapsed another version of history, erasing timelines like burning paper. "You cannot win," Vader said, his voice echoing through eternity. Denji laughed, insane and glorious. "Buddy, winning's boring. I just want to see what happens when everything breaks." Their final clash shattered the void. When the light faded, the Force was silent. The galaxy looked new. Familiar, but different. Planets rearranged. Stars reborn. And somewhere, maybe everywhere, a faint sound echoed, the soft purr of chainsaws, fading into the wind. Vexa watched from the bridge of her ship, eyes wide. "Did we just?" The pilot beside her whispered, trembling. "Reset the galaxy?" She didn't answer. Because in the reflection of the viewport glass, for just a second, she saw him. Denji. Smiling. Watching. Then he was gone. There was no dawn when the new galaxy came into being, only sound. A distant hum, like an eternal engine, resonating through the very bones of creation. Every planet, every moon, every heartbeat shared the same rhythm. It was the sound of chainsaws, woven into the pulse of the cosmos itself. And from that sound, came life. The galaxy rebuilt itself, but not as before. Coruscant floated higher, bathed in scarlet light. Naboo's lakes gleamed black as oil. Even Tatooine, once barren, shimmered with metal veins that pulsed beneath its sands. The stars themselves had changed hue, flickering between white and blood orange, as if the universe still hadn't made up its mind what it wanted to be. Vexa Rin watched all of it from orbit, her armor reflecting the red light of the reborn galaxy. Her eyes were hollow, she had seen gods fall, planets die, and the Force itself scream. But what haunted her most wasn't what was gone. It was what remained. Because the Force was silent. No Jedi could feel it. No Sith could command it. Even the temples that once hummed with ancient energy now stood dead and gray. Only one presence rippled across everything, chaotic, wild, alive. Denji. He appeared on Coruscant like a legend returned, bare-chested, scarred, and smiling beneath a broken mask. The people called him the Red Messiah. They said he came from beyond the void, that he ended the tyranny of the Empire and the illusions of the Jedi. But Denji didn't care for worship. He only cared for fun. When soldiers tried to arrest him, he laughed. When cults tried to crown him, he walked away. He wasn't a god. He wasn't a ruler. He was a hunger that refused to die. "Man," he muttered one day, standing atop the broken Senate Tower, looking down at the shimmering metal veins that now ran through Coruscant's heart, "I didn't mean to wreck everything. I just wanted a good fight." He looked up at the sky. It was no longer blue, it pulsed, like something breathing. Denji revved his chainsaws softly, almost affectionately. Guess I am the fight now. But somewhere deep in the shadows of the reformed galaxy, something else stirred. In the void where Vader fell, energy still coiled, faint, waiting, remembering. A single fragment of his white lightsaber drifted across space, glowing faintly. And within it, the last whisper of the old force murmured. Balance is never destroyed, only delayed. The crystal cracked. Light escaped. And a spark of blue fire drifted into the stars, seeding itself across the galaxy. Tiny worlds began to hum with faint life again. Children on distant colonies dreamed of glowing blades. And far, far away, Vexa Rin smiled bitterly. He broke it, she whispered. But maybe, he also set it free. Years passed. Legends became myth. They said the Force had become wild, unpredictable, no longer light or dark, but something that answered only to chaos and willpower. They said the universe had evolved, not ruled by destiny, but by choice. And somewhere in the outer rim, where no star chart dared to reach, a sound echoed through the void. RRRMMM. A ship flew by, rusty, jagged, shaped like a giant chainsaw. At its helm sat Denji, feet up, a grin stretching across his face. He was older now, but his eyes burned with the same mischief. Beside him, Vexa Rin adjusted the NAV computer. Any plans, monster? She asked dryly. He laughed. Yeah. I heard there's another universe out there. A place called Marvel. Think they've got someone strong enough to take me? She rolled her eyes. You're insane. Denji revved the ship's engines, the sound roaring like 1,000 storms. Yeah, he said with a grin, and it's beautiful. The ship tore into hyperspace, leaving a glowing spiral trail, a new galaxy in its wake. And as it vanished, the stars flickered one last time, spelling out an unspoken truth across eternity. The Force wasn't destroyed. It was devoured. And in its place, something new was born, raw, free, and unchained. The Chainsaw Galaxy. Fire, thanks for watching. If you loved this galactic chaos, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications, because next time, we're asking. Backhand index pointing right. What if Denji entered the Marvel multiverse?